Held in Côte d'Ivoire during a rally in support of Alassane Ouattara, the internationally recognized winner of November's presidential election. Witnesses say security forces loyal to President Laurent Gbagbo gunned the women down in the northern district of Abidjan. Côte d'Ivoire's UN representative, who was appointed by Ouattara, says the world body must be as strong on this atrocity as the crisis in Libya. German security officials say a man accused of killing 2 U.S. airmen on Wednesday has confessed to targeting Americans. But they say he does not appear to be a member of any organized group. The 2 men were killed and another 2 wounded when a gunman opened fire at a Frankfurt airport on a bus carrying U.S. servicemen. A 21-year-old suspect, identified as an ethnic Albanian man from Kosovo, is being held in a German prison. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the OSCE, has condemned Turkey for arresting 6 journalists over a suspected plot to overthrow the government. The arrests follow a 3-year investigation into an ultra-nationalist group. The OSCE says Turkish authorities are intimidating the journalists and wants their immediate release. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has defended Bradley Manning. He's the soldier accused of leaking thousands of classified U.S. government documents. Assange says the U.S. is using Manning as an example. Assange, who's appealing his extradition from Britain to Sweden over sex crime accusations, also denied the WikiLeaks website is anti-American.
The requirements given by some of those charges is that WikiLeaks is the enemy of the United States, that a publisher is the enemy of the United States. And nothing in our 4 years of publishing shows that that is in any way true. We publish from all countries who come to us. We are not an enemy of the United States, and it is an abuse against Mr. Manning and an abuse against us to suggest otherwise.
Now, Indonesia is recognized as having one of the more open societies in Southeast Asia, just 13 years after mass protests helped bring down President Suharto. He ruled for 32 years with the backing of the military. Analysts say Indonesia made a success of its revolution by reaching out to all groups, including Islamists. Steph Wasson has this report.
Democracy, Indonesian style. Protests every day, like this one, against corruption. Still rampant, despite the revolution 13 years ago. Fahri Hamza was one of the students who led the protests against Suharto in 1998. Indonesia became the world's 3rd largest democracy, and the former activist became part of it as a member of parliament for Indonesia's most prominent Islamic party, the Prosperous Justice Party, affiliated with Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. The party abandoning its call for an Islamic state and Sharia law.
The Islamic Brotherhood should not keep fighting the government, but it should help build the country, and it should make itself electable to the people.
Now the Prosperous Justice Party is a modern party, with hip-hop at the National Congress and 4 ministers in the government. It's one of the keys to the Indonesian success story. This ally of brotherhood in Egypt has joined the democratic process. Indonesia is proud to be an example where Islam and democracy go hand in hand. But recent religious violence shows that even after escaping dictatorship, democracy will still stay a serious work in progress that needs decisive leadership. The recent murder of 3 members of Ahmadiyya shocked many Indonesians who felt their country was going back to the dark days of 1998. But despite these serious setbacks, Indonesia has changed for good, says the man who led the revolt against Suharto.
Yeah, of course there are still many homeworks which we have to overcome. But at least we enjoy freedom of the press, freedom of opinion, freedom of religion.
Indonesians are watching closely the developments in the Arab world. They know exactly how it felt to fight for that one thing they never had and will now never let go: freedom. Steph Wasson, AlJazeera, Jakarta.
And over to Brazil now, where Rio de Janeiro's revelers are adding the finishing touches to the annual carnival. Samba divas, burly police officers, and even newly elected President Dilma Rousseff will be among the costumes adorning the streets this season. The party gets into full swing when the mayor of Rio hands over the city's key to King Momo. That's the carnival's monarch. Hello, this is AlJazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines. Rebel troops in Brega say they are in control of the town despite a second day of air raids by government planes. The area has been under attack from forces loyal to the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Well, these pictures from nearby AlJazeera show reinforcements arriving and arming themselves. Witnesses say hundreds have been arriving there from across eastern Libya. U.S. President Barack Obama has again called on President Gaddafi to step down now. Obama says all options are on the table, but he would not commit to enforcing a no-fly zone.
The violence must stop. Muammar Gaddafi has lost legitimacy to lead, and he must leave. Those who perpetrate violence against the Libyan people will be held accountable. And the aspirations of the Libyan people for freedom, democracy, and dignity must be met.
Well, Gaddafi and his allies have also been warned they risk becoming war crime suspects. The International Criminal Court has announced a full investigation into alleged human rights violations in Libya. Tens of thousands of people are expected to rally across the Arab world on Friday as they keep up the pressure for reforms. Anti-government protesters in Yemen are not letting up on their demand for President Ali Abdullah Saleh's immediate resignation. They rejected a proposal by some opposition groups for Saleh to leave office by the end of this year. In Tunisia, celebrations broke out on the streets of the capital, Tunis, following the announcement that interim President Fouad Mabaza has called elections for July 24th. The vote will elect a group to rewrite the constitution, but that means Mabaza will remain in power beyond his March 15th deadline. China says it will increase its defense budget by 12.7% this year, but reiterated its military growth is not a threat to other countries. The announcement comes on the eve of Beijing's annual 10-day conference, which lays down the country's social and economic goals for the next 5 years. Lawyers for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange have lodged an appeal against his extradition to Sweden. He's wanted for questioning about alleged sexual assaults. Assange will remain on bail in the UK. The Australian maintains sexual relations with the two women were consensual. Inside Stories next.
Bowing to mounting public pressure, Egypt's caretaker prime minister steps down. But is that enough to appease protesters? What's next for Egypt's revolution? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Hazem Seeker. Egypt took another step to ridding itself of the old Mubarak regime with the resignation of the country's prime minister. Ahmed Shafik was appointed by former President Hosni Mubarak just days into the momentous protest that led to his own fall from power. But Egypt's pro-democracy campaigners had demanded Shafik follow him out the door. He's been replaced by Issam Sharaf, a